Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to start a new series. It's going to be very short, only 2 or 3 videos. And this series will be about using a few NPM packages, including WebDriver.js, which I already went over in my only series on this channel. And we're going to scrape Instagram and extract data to put into a CSV spreadsheet. The reason for this is, and of course, the most important part of this tutorial is that this involves leveraging OCR, which is optical character recognition, and that just involves reading image files and extracting text from it. So here's the background on this. Last year at some point, my girlfriend's job emailed her with a folder. Basically, her boss emailed her with a folder full of screenshots of Instagram influencers. And he just sent her that and was like, these are a bunch of screenshots. Can you go to their profiles and put all their info in a spreadsheet? Like if they have a URL in their bio, if they have an email, their follower count, the Instagram URL, first and last name, and put all that in a spreadsheet. So that folder had like hundreds of screenshots, which is pretty funny to me that either he did this or someone in the company did this. Spent some time just gathering screenshots of Instagram influencers. So it took her a few hours to get just through like a fifth of it or a quarter of it. And I just decided eventually, because we had parties to go to and stuff to do. So I just decided, let me have a look. And then I spent like 2 hours looking at a bunch of different packages, just doing some research on what packages I could use, and writing a script that would basically go into a folder like here, right here, iterate over the folder, over all the contents in the folder, over each file, image file, read that file and extract text. And then from the extracted text, which is the Instagram handle for each person, it would create a URL, an Instagram URL. And now leveraging WebDriver, I would just go to their profile and get the information I needed from their public bio. So if you see here, so these are not the screenshots that my boss sent my girlfriend. I didn't want to use the same ones, but I just looked for some travel Instagram influencers. I was gonna use people like Snoop Dogg and Justin Bieber and Kim Kardashian, but they actually don't have obviously they don't put their emails in their bio or their website. So here are some mid-range Instagram influencers, and they often have contact info in their bio. And these are what the screenshots look like. They were the actual area of the screenshot was pretty similar to this. It was just like the top half, and it just had their info and just like the first 3 or 6 images. And so then my girlfriend would go to the profile and have to just copy and paste this, put it in a spreadsheet, as well as the Instagram URL and her first and last name if there was one, like here. So my script, what it does is that it digs into this folder and it starts iterating over each file. For each file, it extracts the text from this whole image, but then only cares about this here. And from this, it just pastes Instagram.com in front of it, and that's a URL. That's the URL to the profile. And then my WebDriver script just hits that URL and is able to extract the actual text of all this stuff. I couldn't use OCR for everything because I found out that OCR is actually very error prone and it requires some hand-holding throughout the process. And you won't, at least not with the kind of packages I'm using, you won't be able to nail it 100% on the first, second, or even third try. There will be errors that you'll have to manually correct, but it still saves a ton of time. I mean, by the time I was done with the script, it went through everything in a matter of minutes and then the corrections that needed to be done manually, it just took another couple minutes, and then it was done. It was my girlfriend was pretty impressed. So in this tutorial, I'm going to walk through the steps of doing all that again. And it's going to be quick and dirty. It's not going to be anything fancy or pretty, but it should work. So for now, in this first video, I'm going to focus on using, let me type this right here, fs equals require fs. And that's just the native file system module that comes with Node.js. And that enables me to do read and write operations on the file system that I'm working on that's hosting the Node environment. And then I'm going to leverage this package here called Okrabyte or Okrabyte. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but this is an OCR library, pure JavaScript for Node.js. Pretty cool. It shows you how to get started very quickly, and that's what I use to get started. So I'm going to npm install save dev Okrabyte. No such directory package.json. npm init. And then npm install Okrabyte. Oh crap. Okay, cool. And now I have that in here. So I can require it const Okrabyte equals require Okrabyte. I could just do an import, but whatever. And then I'm going to wrap all this in, I'll do in an async anonymous function, self-invoking one. And the reason for that is because I want to use some features of async await, which kind of helps a little bit with promises and making it less painful. And because this will, I'm going to use promises just to be able to extract all the data that I want to put them in arrays. So there you go. So first order of business is iterating over this folder of files, and that's where the fs file system module comes in. So I'm going to const files will equal await new promise. So I have to use promises for this because when you use async await, anything that you await for is a promise. So you can resolve a promise or reject the promise. And then now, so basically I'm wrapping the file system script in a promise that I can then leverage elsewhere. So fs read dir, and that's read directory. And I will say images slash, so that's, since we're in this folder here, it knows to look for this folder right here. And then error files, this is the callback, and it will either throw an error or give me the files in the file in the directory that I'm gonna iterate over. So now if there is an error, we reject that error. Else, we resolve the promise with the array of files. And it's as simple as that. So now basically, if I do something like console log files, whoops, and I do node instabot, there you go. I get this array of all this stuff right here. Now, this is a problem. So basically, it's picking up the DS store that's in a lot of that the Mac OS puts in a lot of folders, and I'm gonna have to tell it to ignore that one. So the way I do that, I'm gonna do const filtered will equal files, and I'm gonna use a filter array method, and then in the callback I will basically tell it to filter, to return an array that does not include, what did I just do? Oh, I made a mistake earlier. I mapped a shortcut, a VS Code shortcut that prevents me from doing the exclamation. So I'm gonna have to change that after this. But okay. So return the array that does not include DS store. All right. So I call the filter method on this array and just return. So basically the filter method will then give me the array, and I'm telling it to just return that array with no DS store in it. So now if I do filtered, now I get the array again without DS store. So that's pretty good. Happy that worked. Okay, so now I'm going to map over this array. And what I need to do is basically, I just need an array of paths that includes the img s, and then Okrabyte will process each element. So let's do const mapped, and now I'm using await. Oh, okay. I'm gonna wrap all this in a function. I'll just call it words. And then this. Good. Because I want all this that I'm doing to just return an array of all the URLs for the Instagram influencers. And then when I have that array, I can start the second part of this script, which is the WebDriver script. So const mapped await. And so now, because I'm going to map over all this and I'm going to use async await, I'm going to be dealing with an array of promises. So I'm going to want them to all resolve. So promise all creates a promise that is resolved with an array of results when all of the provided promises resolved, or rejected with any promise when any promise is rejected. So so now I'm taking this here, because now this is an array, right? Filtered, even though it looks like this, it's actually equal to all this. So I'm going to map over that array, that filtered array, and then in it, I'm going to now return a new promise that can either be resolved or rejected. And this is where the magic will happen. So now I can leverage Okrabyte, and here this is the Okrabyte package, and I can either use like decode file, but that will take a string of a single file and then it will read it, right? So instead I'll use the buffer, and this way it can also take a whole list of URLs, and I mean not of URLs, of files. So decode buffer fs read file sync imgs plus file, and then the callback, either an error, and then it will give me back the data from the buffer. And then here I will either resolve or reject this promise. So if there is an error, if error, then return reject the error, like reject the promise with the error, and then else we will resolve with the data. Okay. So I just want to now check what we get with this right now. Oh, and we're gonna have to return this. So now this will be an array of promises that will be resolved with promise all. So now I return mapped. So now my words function, it iterates over all these files, creates an array with the files, then it will create a new array. All right, it's going to be an array of promises. So, because we're mapping, right? And as we map over each element, we create a promise that will return this the data from the buffer from the image file. So decode buffer read file sync, and that's the images from images here in this folder plus the file, right? And the file is one of these, so it's any of these, right? So all this does here is it iterates over this array and adds imgs / in front of it. And then so all this will actually just be the actual file, and Okrabyte is going to decode that actual file. And then once it decodes it, it will give me the data here. And that data will be what this promise resolves with, and what this promise will return. So, and all that is returned here. So now I believe that if I just do console log mapped, maybe, I think I might have to store this first. Let's do testing and then await. Yeah, because I'm returning this function, this words function. So I'm storing the result of all this in this variable, and using async await, it's I'm saying await for the promise to resolve. So now if I console log testing, let's see what we get. And so this takes a minute because for each file in the folder, it is decoding the file. And look at it, we got it. This is all the data, and it's a mess. It's a complete mess because these are the images here, and I'll just do it like this. So these are all the images, right? And this is pretty much what it looked like when my girlfriend got it from her boss. These are just some mid-range influencers, and it is extracting the text from everything it sees. And so some of these things are not text at all, but it's trying to see if it might be, and it's recognizing certain pixels as text. So then it creates all this crap here, or like all these dots and spaces and underscores. But if you look carefully, you'll see that this is an array. You see the opening and the closing brackets. And you'll see that the first element of the array, is the Instagram handle. And you see all this here is one array element. The next array element begins here, and once again it ends there. And you'll see the first element, the first string of each array element is actually the Instagram handle. And for some reason there's an underscore in front of all of them, but that's because the profile picture here, it is trying to convert that into some kind of character, and I guess most of the time it's converting that into an underscore. So then the text reads underscore chai wala, and that's the text. So what we're gonna have to do is filter this array to only give back the first item here. And the way we do that is I'm going to split each array element. I'm going to split them by anything that's separated with a space. So then all of a sudden this one array element, this here, will become a new array of a bunch of elements, because anything separated with a space will become its own array element. And then because everything is zero index, I can just say just give me back the first element of that array, and that will just be this. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So we have all this. This is where I'm going to try to transform the data. So I'm going to split stuff with spaces. So I'm going to say let split words equal data dot split space. And then well, let me just show you what that does. Let's do this again. There you go. You see now everything is separated by a space. I mean, everything, every character, every string, every substring becomes its own array element. But the first element of each of these arrays will always be the Instagram handle. So now I can just say let the word that I want equal split words 0, which is the first element. And now if I do resolve with word, boom, it worked. Now we have all the Instagram handles. The only issue here is that I want to get rid of these, and that's going to be easy because this constitutes basically the word, right? So I'm just going to ask for the substring of that, because all these dashes and dots and extra D's or whatever, these are all substrings. And I'm going to say 1, because if I do 0, right, then I'm actually just returning the full string again, because 0 is the first element. But I'm saying give me a substring from the first array position, and that means skipping over 0 and starting from 1. And now I'm just going to get this. One last time. And yeah, there you go. And that worked. Perfect. So that's pretty much it, actually. So now that I have this, all this right here is this array equals this array. So now in the next video, I'm going to start a WebDriver script that's going to visit each and every one of these profiles. Okay, and I'm just wondering if I'm forgetting something here. No. Good. So that's it for this video. What I did was I leveraged 2 packages, Node packages, and well, really 1 npm package and the native file system module. So all that did was iterate over folder files, filter out the files I didn't need, and then create a promise that an array of promises that contained all the text extracted from each and every one of these files, right? And I managed to filter out all the crap that I didn't need, all the superfluous characters. So I think that was pretty easy, and it's crazy how easy it is to do this. I was really impressed when I first found this package here, Okrabyte. There are other packages that I think are way more well known. Like, as you can see, like barely anybody uses this, and this was published 3 years ago, I think, but it still works. And other packages seem to be a little more heavy duty, and I'm sure you can do a lot more with them. But for this was perfect. This is just what I needed, and it worked really well. But like I said, these things are error prone. If you compare now with this, you'll see that like Kirsten Alana, where is she? She's here, Kirsten Alana. So that's good. So that matches. If I check along dusty roads here, unfortunately, because I had to strip out the first element of each word, and this one did not for some reason have an underscore in front of it. It stripped out the A, which is actually part of the name. And then the postcard, that was good. Suitcase, that was good, but there's a O at the end here, and that's because it is badge, verified badge, and so it tries to convert that into a character, and it recognized it as a O, which is annoying. Drinks in the Air, that was good. Chaiwala, well done. The Blonde Abroad. See there, it recognized that the badge was not a character, so it stripped it out, or maybe it added a space in between, I'm not sure, and so it was stripped out. But that's the correct Instagram handle. Budget Traveler, that's good. Ovuno, Budget Traveler, yeah. Ovuno is good. And Passion Passport. And here the badge was included as an O again. So as you can see, this is error prone. And when I wrote this script and there were hundreds of files, it still worked for like 90% of them. But basically what I did was I just left the array as is. And my WebDriver script tried to visit each Instagram URL. But since this was wrong, and what was the other one? This was wrong, then it would fail to visit those. And the ones that failed, they would be their own list, and I would either just correct them or manually visit them. But it was easier to just manually correct the ones that were wrong. Just take out, the O and add the A. And it still just took a matter of minutes to do that. So it still saved so much time, so much time, because this was all done in a matter of minutes, not even half an hour. So that's pretty much it. And that's how you can get started using this. Maybe if you have your own use case, I hope this is useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we start leveraging WebDriver.js.